I recently had a comment on my Instagram that one of the hardest things was for a photographer to find and develop their style before anyone else jumped on that style and was doing it before them. And this commenter was under the belief that your style as a photographer, as a creative, is exclusively tied to the subject matter or the genre that you are working in. And it's not that the subject matter and genre that you're working in is not part of your style, because it absolutely is. But that is just scratching the surface of how you, as a photographer, as a videographer, as a creative professional, can develop your style so you, your brand, and your work can stand out. And that's what we're going to cover in today's episode. Are you tired of the endless stream of fantasy marketing and vanity metrics? Yeah, so am I. My name is James Patrick, and I'm an internationally published photographer, media specialist, and marketing strategist. As a creative entrepreneur, I face the same exact frustrations you have, being bombarded by generic advice that promises success but never lives up to the hype. We need to move beyond the posturing, beyond the facade, beyond the image to navigate the unique challenges we face as creatives. Together, we're going to dive into real stories, real strategies, and the real work that can lead to the real results. This is the Beyond the Image podcast. What is going on, and welcome to our latest episode of the Beyond the Image podcast. I'm excited that you could tune in to get some information, get a little inspiration to help you in your creative entrepreneurial journey. So let's talk about how we as creative professionals develop a style that stands out. And I mentioned at the top of this that the first thought we have is we need to niche down. We need to really hone in on the subject matter or the genre or the type of work that we want to do. And that's absolutely correct. You're not wrong to think that. Like when I when I really focus my work in sports and fitness, and I became known for shooting sports and fitness, my work as a photographer started to increase. The amount of bookings I received started to really ramp up. So the subject matter or the genre that you choose to work in, yeah, that can absolutely be part of how you are honing in and niching down your services and defining your style as a creative or as an artist. But once again, this is just the first. You can think about three interesting ways to differentiate yourself, and you'll see iterations of these three ways come out in a lot of the different ways that we're going to discuss how we can brand ourselves or how we can define our style. But the first is you are honing in on the audience that you're serving. The second is you are shifting the service that you are delivering. If everyone is just doing service A, but you're doing service A plus B or A plus B plus C, all of a sudden you become different. And that right there, your service offering can really shift how your style, quote unquote, your style as a photographer or as a creative is being defined. Another way is to shift the outcome. If everyone is just providing one specific outcome and you change the outcome for your clients, that shifts your style. That shifts how consumers look at your brand compared to anyone else's brand. Well, yeah, everyone takes great photos, but so and so gets my photos published, or everyone can take great photos, but so and so does photos and videos. Everyone can take great photos, but so and so delivers them faster. Everyone can take great photos, but so and so does it in a way that helps me book work. All right. That sells more of my products or services. All right. So three different things that you can think about. And like I said, you'll see iterations of these in this list that we're going through. But number one, yeah, you can niche down your subject matter genre. Number two is you could change the services that you're providing. And then number three is you could change the outcome that you're offering to your clients. So let's expand upon these. Let's start with actually just purely photography. What about how you are shooting the imagery? Not just the subject matter, like I honed in on sports and fitness, but how I shot sports and fitness, I tried to make my own. That included how I lit my photos, the types of lighting I use, the types of lighting I gravitate towards. In 20 years of doing this, there are still lighting setups that I gravitate towards a lot because they're indicative of my style. When people hire me and they show me samples of my work and they say, well, I want a photo that looks like this, inevitably it's a style that I've really worked on over 20 years. Okay. My composition, how I shoot certain things. I shoot my covers in a very specific way, and I have for most of my career. And there are nuances and variances to that depending on what I'm shooting and what I want the cover to look like. But a lot of my covers, I shoot the same way because it's part of my style. How I'm using color, or how you, excuse me, you are using color could be part of your style, or your choice to not use color can be part of your style. The gear you choose to use can be part of your style, or the lack of gear that you choose to use can be part of your style. Like, I follow this photographer on Instagram who shoots everything with a metal plate. So she does these metal plate portraits that have this amazing dynamic range in these photos, and they're absolutely beautiful to look at. Well, that is this photographer's style. This is what they are known for. And they'll do portraits of everyone. So they didn't have to select, well, I only do portraits of, health and wellness professionals, or I only do portraits of musicians. I do portraits of anyone, but here is the methodology or the technology I am using to create these portraits. All of this can help define your style. So a couple years ago, I did a whole series. It took a little over half a year, where I was doing all these portraits and all these fashion photos using medium format film. Well, the reason I did that was I wanted to create a connection between what my clients were seeing and my work with black and white medium format film. So I was shooting it a lot, and I was creating a lot of portrait work, and so much so that people started to request, oh, I'd like to shoot something like that. So styles are a little bit amiable, which is cool. Next up is the experience of the project itself is part of your style. Okay. There was this time where photographers could be these ego fueled, kind of, megalomaniacs that had these, big budgets and big attitudes. And they were almost more of a celebrity than the people that they were photographing, and I'm sure that had its time in the 80s and maybe in the 90s. It doesn't exist anymore. People want to work with who they like to work with. And part of who they like to work with is really determined by the experience that the photographer and his or her team or their team provides on set. What is the location that they're shooting in? Well, the fact that I own and operate a studio is of a benefit to my clients or the people who are members of my studio. The fact that they could call this their home studio, so that when they do photo shoots and their client walks through the front door, they're walking through the front door of their photographer's studio. That is an experiential differentiator. The people I have on team and what they are like to work with, the makeup artist I have, my assistant, if I have a digital tech on set, if I have a stylist on set, everyone's on set demeanor and energy and experience, all of them reflect on me as a photographer. So the experience that you are providing for your clients. So for example, one of my clients, who's a photographer, provides all the wardrobe for her clients. So they do an outfit testing or outfit try on, which is part of the experience. How you show your clients the files, what the onset experience is like, if you're catering lunch, if you're the music you're playing on set, your energy, your persona, how you are projecting yourself on set, all of that is part of your style. Let's look at the post-processing, how you edit your photos can be part of your style. The look and feel of your post-production is part of your style. I had mentioned the selection process. So we have a client at our studio here who has their client look at all the files during, like, right after the photo shoot, and select their files right then and there. So seeing their photos on a big screen right then and there is part of the experience that this photographer is providing to his clients. All right. So that's like, oh, wow, I get to choose the photos the same day. And then, he turns the photos around super quick. So How fast you deliver is part of your style. Notice that there are a myriad of different ways that you can differentiate yourself in the marketplace. So let's talk about deliverables. The deliverables that you're passing on. We talked about, we're assuming photos, but what if you're the photographer who delivers more photos than others? Or what if you're the photographer who delivers all the files? Not saying you have to. I know that's a very hot button topic for a lot of photographers. What if you do photos and videos? What if you design content for your clients? So we talked about changing the outcome. So it's like, hey, everyone just delivers photos, but I deliver photos and I will create 2 reels for you. And this is not saying you have to do more work for less pay. Like these can be built into your rates, but these are ways that you can differentiate yourself. All right. The pricing packages that you offer is another way that you can differentiate yourself. How quickly you turn around files is another way you can differentiate yourself. Let's talk about quality. And we think, well, quality is just, do the photos look good or do they not look good? But do the photos work? Are you the photographer who understands the client's goals enough? Maybe you have a background in marketing. This is something I campaigned a lot in my career. I have a background in marketing, so I can understand how photos get used, why they get used, and what photos need to be put into certain places in order to be commercially viable. So I really touted the commercial viability of my imagery. My photos work for my client's goals. That could be part of your style. Let's talk about how you're presenting yourself just before a client even walks through your front door. Your social media presence, that's part of your style. We talked about your on-set energy, but how you're presenting yourself in all your channels, your website, your email communications, your social media, your content marketing, your YouTube, your podcast, all of it is adding to how people are perceiving your company's brand contrasted from other people's brands. All right. How you write your emails, your email signatures, how fast you respond to things, how quick you are to communicate. All of it is your style. So ultimately, anything that you are doing in the foundational building of your brand and how your brand is different from that of your competitors, from the services you're offering to the clients you're working with to the outcomes you're providing to the experience that you are offering your clients, all of it adds to people's perception of your brand and your style. So what do you do to make these stand out? Is you do them consistently. To do something once is not enough for people to attribute that to your style, but to do it consistently over time so that people see that this is a recurring thing, that this is not a one-off anomaly, that there is repetition and there's consistency. So, I'll use the example of this podcast. I've come out with about an episode a week for, I don't know, what have I been doing this show? Almost 10 years. There's consistency in this show. Me as a podcaster is a pretty consistent element of my brand and my style. Me as an educator is a pretty consistent element of my brand and my style. I can help educate the people that I'm working with because of my background in marketing, because of my background in sales, because of my background in media. That's all part of what I'm bringing into my style, is my background. And that's the same thing you can do, but it works when I do it consistently, when I show that I am doing it consistently. So showing what you do and showing it consistently and doing it consistently, these are the things that will carve out your unique style in whatever marketplace that you are choosing to be in. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. We appreciate your 5-star reviews on the Apple Podcast app, for subscribing on YouTube. If there are any topics you want me to cover on the creative industry, please let me know. Drop me a message at jpatrickphoto on Instagram. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next episode. Take care, everyone.